Hey guys, and welcome back. We are super pumped to bring you this next conversation and masterclass with the incredible Odette Barry. Now, Odette is someone, if you don't know who she is, then you literally have to discover her and gobble up any communication that you can read, listen, see about her. She is an incredible PR manager. As I mentioned before, this is a masterclass on what redefining what the future of PR looks like. But before we go into that, I just wanted to give you an introduction to Odette so you know a little bit about her background and where she's actually worked. So as I mentioned before, she is a storyteller who loves nothing more than helping businesses share their stories through traditional media. Odette is also a publicist. She's a PR mentor. She's the founder of Odette & Co., which is actually a micro PR agency based out of Byron Bay. So Odette's joining us from Byron Bay today. Her career spans marketing and communications for brands like Westpac, the Australian Physiotherapy Association, TAFE New South Wales, Women's Fitness Magazine. And I mean, literally, we could go on and on and on. If you think of a brand or think of something in the news, no doubt she's touched this. That incredible. Odette is also a headline-winning PR mentor, and she has designed and teaches the popular Hack Your Own PR program. She's also a podcaster and an editor, and she's an editor of actually one of my favorite brands and favorite Instagram accounts to follow at the moment, which is Future Dreamers. I am terribly excited to welcome Odette to CareerCon. Make sure that you get your pens and paper ready because this masterclass is going to be amazing if you want to get into the PR industry. So, Odette, I'm going to throw it over to you. Welcome to CareerCon.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. What an epic introduction. It doesn't seem to matter how many of these public speaking gigs that I do, I'm still shaking like a leaf and always nervous as all hell. But thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to not just talk about PR, but also talk about finding your path. And hopefully, through today's session, we'll be able to share a bit of light for people that need it.
Yeah, cool. Now, I just wanted to, just before you started, I just want to let everyone know that, if you have any questions in regards to, PR as a career, university choices, maybe you even work within the industry, make sure that you just put them in the Q&A box, and about 10 minutes until the end, we'll jump back and ask Odette those questions. So thank you. I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Wow. Thanks so much for having me. Just a little bit nervous. So to begin, I just want to give you a bit of an overview. Today, I really want to talk about why school doesn't matter and why being a wreck is absolutely okay. And this is not necessarily a message for everyone, but for the couple of people that this is meaningful for, I hope you hear this and it gives you a little ray of light. And we're going to talk about a little bit about what PR is, because PR has an awful PR problem in that so many people don't really understand what our industry is. Then I'm going to help explain a little bit about understanding how you can tell whether PR is going to be a great career for you. Talk a little bit about media within 2020, because there's been some pretty significant changes that are going to affect all of our careers of the future. And then we'll talk a little bit about the future of PR and what I anticipate some of the key changes will be, and talking a little bit about designing your life around joy. So I'm Odette. I grew up in Melbourne and have lived here in Byron Bay for 5 years. And I'm the founder of Odette & Co., publicist, PR mentor and editor of Future Dreamers, like Cora said. So Future Dreamers is a sex, pleasure, identity online magazine that's created for young women growing up in this wild world. So if you're interested in getting to know yourself on a deeper level and talking about some of the topics that are probably a little bit taboo, got a bit of stigma related to them, come and check us out. But by the end of this session today, I hope that you'll feel a little bit more confident that you understand what PR is, what's happening in the landscape. But I also really hope that you walk away sharing my vision of hope and optimism for our industry, because I'm really excited about what's ahead for us. But more than anything, I really, really hope that you know that no matter how you feel right now about the world and the chaos that we're experiencing, the challenges that 2020 has presented us, I hope that you know that you are absolutely golden. Your future is bright. Our collective futures are bright. And what happens with your end of school results actually doesn't matter at all. I know right now all of these decisions can feel enormous and they can feel like they're going to define your future. But if we're really honest, they might define the next 5 years of your life. But you know, please know, that you can reinvent yourself 10 times over in your career. And the current data at the moment, it shows that Australian workers will, on average, have between 5 and 7 career changes in their lifetime. And I am a testament to that. Your path will bend and twist, and sometimes it'll feel like you're swimming up against the current. Sometimes it'll probably feel like you're being dumped by a tidal wave and things will feel totally out of control. But there will be other times in your life where you will experience divine flow and you will love every single minute of every day. So just know you can reinvent yourself. You can dabble in different careers through your lifetime and you can explore the beautiful wonders of this universe. You don't have to follow any preordained societal script that you feel like the school system might be portraying in front of you or the university system is presenting to you. You can make your own path and you can learn to follow your intuition rather than just the systems. For me, I followed my own path and I got married at the age of 21 and had a baby at 22. Because that was what my calling was. I really desperately wanted to become a young mum and it was all I wanted. And I guess, you know, the way I would describe that is really the greatest gift I could have ever received. I've had a chance to not only be a young mum that I wanted to be, but I've also been able to grow and develop my career while my son has watched me go from strength to strength in my career. So this message here is not for everyone, as I said. If you know where you're headed, if you're crystal clear on your vision, if you're inspired, motivated, disciplined, and checking off that to-do list, I absolutely salute you. You are amazing. You are a sparkly being, and you have so much light and joy ahead of you. And for those of you that are feeling a little lost, confused, or stuck in the decisions of where you should go in your career or feeling the pressure of exams or the pressure of the big decisions that are looming in front of you, if you're feeling unable to focus or study at the moment, or you're feeling nervous that you might fall short of your dreams, know this: you are an amazing sparkly being and you have so much light and joy ahead of you as well. So I wanted to share with you a little poem that I read recently that when I heard it, I thought to myself, I have to share this with CareerCon because it really, really stuck with me. Because you see, when I was in high school, I didn't feel like I belonged and I didn't know anyone who wasn't motivated and who wasn't striving towards a clearly defined dream. I felt like a wreck, and this section of this poem made me feel so unbelievably seen. I just want to share this little part of it. I like wrecks. I like ex-junkies. I like flunks and ex-flunkies. I like the way the careerless career. I like flat beer. I like people who tell half stories and forget the rest. I like people who make doodles in important written tests. I like being late, I like fate, and I like the way teeth grate. I honestly just love this poem because it just made me feel so seen. I love Rex too. I love the careerless and I love ex-junkies. No matter how it looks from the outside, We are all messy, flawed, and imperfect beings, and we all deserve love and forgiveness for not being society's idea of perfection. In school, I was a complete ratbag. I had a big mouth, a lot of attitude. I was a pain in the ass for all of my teachers. But I was a wildling trying to fit into a strict private school education, and I wasn't cut out for that world. And as a result of that, I felt completely out of step with society and school and the expectations around me, because I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I didn't know who I was, because I had no drive and I had no desire to do well in school. But on the side, I was working at Boost Juice 30 hours a week, and that was late nights, it was all weekend, and I absolutely loved my job. I worked harder than anyone on my shifts, and I was the shift manager at 16, running shifts for people 10 years older than me at $6.05 an hour. And it was amazing. But fast forward 17 years, and I have to tell you, I had the calculator out last night trying to double check the numbers, but it's actually been 17 years. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of my career, my achievements, and my messy and chaotic and wildly fulfilling path. I nearly dropped out of high school, but in the end I stuck it out, and I obtained a dazzling 56 on my enter score, which is really hard to say out loud, especially in the shadow of both my sisters achieving 96.55. And at the time, part of me was crippled with embarrassments in my sense of failure, while a tiny little voice in my head believed that I knew what I was doing, and I trusted, but I was also pretty afraid. I refused to go to university at that point. I refused to go until I was 100% sure I knew what I wanted to do. And in the end, I did go to uni. I got into my first choice when I was 26 years old. I studied strategic communications, majoring in public relations and journalism. And the funny thing is, when you apply to uni as a mature age student, your finishing score doesn't mean anything. No one asks for it. You don't even need one. But before I'd completed my studies, I had the absolute pleasure of working in corporate communications for one of Australia's largest financial institutions in Westpac, and in Australia's governing body for physio. So I'd even had an opportunity to try my hand in fashion retail. But upon graduating, nothing really changed in my career thanks to that piece of paper. The only change was in my head. Instead, I suddenly felt validated by the system. Since then, I've worked in major media mastheads within Women's Fitness magazine, and there was no piece of paper required for that. I work for Future Dreamers as the editor. I've written for Mamma Mia, Kidspot, Mumbrella, and in the last 5 years, I've set up a thriving PR agency that I love with my entire heart. And I've had absolutely no cause to have a degree through this period. So for any of you that need to hear this message, please remember you are an amazing, sparkly being, and you have so much light ahead of you. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. What is PR? So I'm a publicist, and as I mentioned, pretty much no one I speak to knows what that is. And it's pretty ironic because the PR industry's job is to improve the reputation and help our clients become known. And we haven't really been able to manage that for ourselves. It's our job to help our clients shine in the most positive light possible. And I constantly am explaining to people what PR is. And the reason that is that often we are the hidden lever of power that sits behind a kick-ass media win. So often people won't mention that they hustled with a publicist to secure coverage, because it's kind of like showing inside the sausage factory. So anywhere between 50 and 80% of media coverage occurs from pitches. So that's when a publicist will get in touch with an outlet, with an editor, a producer, a chief of staff, someone within the media outlet, and pitch a story. So our job is to help our clients get coverage across TV, radio, print, online, podcasts, TikTok, social media collaborations. And we do this via developing strategy and then pitching those stories. So PR, I honestly, I haven't seen the inside of every single communications field, but I don't think there's anything more exciting in the communications disciplines than publicity. On any given day, you can be sitting across strategy, event planning, influencer marketing, risk mitigation, crisis management, and it's really diverse. And it's super exciting when your clients succeed. And we have so much power in our hands when we work with amazing collaborators. We create thought leaders, create celebrities, orchestrate endorsements, and we fuel amazing communications. A typical day might include anything from when you're starting out, from researching media outlets, pitching stories, building lists of influencers and collaborators, planning events, managing activations, helping out on shoots. There's so many cool things that you get to do, and you really get to flex everything from creativity to storytelling to strategic mindsets. So it is honestly so much fun. So how do you know if PR is a good career for you? Well, some of the things that I think are essential to have in your core skill set, but I also think that so many people from different walks of life would be amazing for PR. But some of the key things: you want to be creative, you want to love writing, you want to love telling stories, you love talking shit, you like roller coasters, you like fun, you don't mind a bit of chaos, you love meeting new people, you probably love the thrill of the chase, you love social media, you love everything new, and you're probably a bit of adrenaline junkie. Because in PR, things move fast. We are constantly thinking on our feet. We're forever meeting new people, building strategic communications. And generally speaking, I find that PRs are early adopters. We love being across the latest trends and hyper now conversations. It truly is one of the most exciting industries, but it is also laden with fatigue. And also we do have some new risks involved in the industry with what's happening in the media industry. So I think it would be pretty irresponsible if I didn't talk about the elephant in the room, which is what's happening within the media landscape. So social media has been stealing advertising budgets from traditional media for over a decade. And so there's decreased numbers of staff in media, decreased budgets, inboxes are overflowing with invites, pitches, media releases, and the deadlines are very, very real. There's some pretty serious ego in the industry, but there's also now a lot of fear for the security of people's jobs. So before COVID, Australia's media market had been shrinking for a really long time, but COVID has definitely accelerated its decline. There's no lying about that. You can see the headlines here that there's just been so many outlets that have been closed in the last few months that have suffered the blow of limited advertising budgets that have been available. For PR professionals, that has a pretty significant impact. How do you build relationships with journalists and outlets when they're constantly closing and changing? You know, for eons, PR has been reliant on newspapers and TV programs to survive. But as things have changed with digital, it's meant that publicists have changed with it. We're agile. We are content creators. We're data aggregators. We're integrated and channel agile storytellers. Our roles are now so much more varied, and they're going to become more varied. as these mastheads close, there's definitely been some heaviness in the industry, but there's also been some light. So PR is definitely nimble, and unlike some of the journalists that are single channel, we are multidisciplinary news creators, and we're agile. We're able to adapt to the new technologies because we're hungry for understanding what the emerging mediums are. So definitely news is still going to be an essential part of our high functioning democracy, but it'll just be new platforms, and when new platforms emerge, publicists will definitely be there. Thanks to the rise of digital, almost everyone can be a publisher these days, creating their own digital outlet. You know, podcasts, TikTok, they've been rapidly expanding their influence. And where there's influence, there will always be opportunities for brands to get in front of new audiences. So it's absolutely been a challenging time for the media landscape, but it has also had some amazing great results for outlets like the New York Times, who have had the highest number of subscribers ever through the pandemic, and niche publications are absolutely thriving as they are speaking to their niche audiences, and they know exactly what they're about. So it's not all doom and gloom. The top 10 Australian news outlets have had some of the highest traffic ever through COVID. So the function of news is still very much needed. It's just that it's changing. Publicists will continue to be necessary. We will always need to find places for our clients to create impact, and brands will still need ways to grow their reputation and build influence. So the future is bright. So what is the future of PR? Well, I believe we will always need to communicate with our public about things that matter. We will always need communicators. The message may change, the medium may change, but the need will absolutely remain. So I believe that the industry will adapt and change with a focus on innovation, paid media, creativity, data, and definitely resilience. When it comes to innovation, we will not solve any problems if we think in a traditional mindset. So people that work in PR are going to have to be innovative in their soul, to the very core of their soul. You always have to move at speed, be creative, and be innovative. We always will have to think outside the box, and I think that's going to be demanded of us more and more in the future of PR. Currently, PR is considered earned media, which means that it's unpaid and it's one based on your knowledge, your expertise, your skills, your celebrity. But I think future PR will have probably a bit of a mixed bag of paid and owned media types. So whilst PR will still be in the game of creating impact and changing the way people think and feel about things, I think there will be more use of mixed media where PRs will be working more closely and more integrated with advertising and marketing functions to really create that change. I think the future of PR will be deeply creative. I think as storytellers and content creators, it will continue to be our job to get the message out there. It will just be that it'll be different forums and mediums that we're doing it. You know, maybe it's beaming up intergalactic conversations to aliens. Whatever the medium is, we're still going to need to converse. And I think our creativity will be what will be front and center of everything we do in the future. There's no doubt that data is going to play a big role in the future of PR. So publicists of the future will absolutely need to be data oriented. They'll need to be confident, understanding consumer insights, as you know, and being as confident in analytics and understanding performance as our peers in the advertising and marketing domain are expected to be. But mostly, more than anything, and I think this is the case in every single career domain, we will need to be resilient. In the future of PR, we will need to be adaptive, we'll need to embrace ambiguity, and we will need to be open to collaboration. And I had a boss when I worked at Westpac, and she told me that if you want to earn good corporate money in finance, you have to become great at dealing with change. But I think that applies absolutely everywhere. So, in summary, I think the future is super, super bright for PR. The medium may be unknown, but the need to communicate will never, ever go away. I honestly think if you're feeling unsure, if you don't feel 100% aligned to a particular path that you're currently forging, or you're worried that you might not want to be a publicist or a lawyer or a marketer or a vet or an analyst forever, just remember that the data says that Australians will have between 5 and 7 career changes in your lifetime. So there's space to reinvent yourself, dabble in those different careers, and explore the wonders of this beautiful planet. Remember, you don't have to follow anyone's script. You can create your own path. And I really hope that you can learn to hear and trust your intuition. Learn to chase joy, chase a lifestyle, invest in time in nature, invest in friendships and connection, invest in adventure, in yourself, invest in your personal development as much as your professional development, and stay open and curious. Be kind to yourself. Celebrate you even when you feel like a careerless flunky. You are all amazing, sparkly beings, and you have so much light ahead of you. So that's a wrap from me. If you have any questions, Cora maybe might flick them across, I think. But if you have any questions and want to know any more about PR and how to navigate the domain, I have a little podcast called Hack Your Own PR, and you're welcome to jump over there and check it out and DM me any questions on Instagram.
Odette, that was sensational. Thank you so much for doing that. We do have a couple of questions that have come through, and we'll just shoot through maybe just one or two just while we've got you here on the call. And I think the majority of us really, really want a copy of that poem. So there's been a couple of questions in the box about that. So flick it through to me, and then I can distribute it to all of the people that have registered for the call as well. The first tip is any tips on gaining internships within PR, and do you believe that they are useful?
Yeah, I think they're so freaking useful. Like, I just feel like try and do as many internships as you possibly can and do more than are required of you in your degree, because the more of those relationships you establish, the better it's going to be. The one thing that I would say is that you can easily set yourself apart from the pack with internships by showing up and being punctual, by having great communication, by being curious and getting things done. I have inquiries from, people that want to do internships all the time. And, I would say 1 in 10 are people that actually reply to the email that I get back to them on.
All right. Wow.
People are flaky.
Yeah. Geez, in every industry, but yeah, that's right. Just show up. So another really quick question that I think is a really important one is that where is the PR industry heading since COVID? It seems like agencies aren't hiring anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the industry is in absolute shock. Definitely. But I think there's also like a recalibration, because we still need to create influence. We still need to create opportunities for brands to become known, for these conversations to be had. It's just that I think some of the bigger agencies are carrying huge overheads that they can't justify anymore. So I think there's a quietening period, and then I think it's going to ramp up again, because there's so many niche outlets, so many niche publications that are absolutely thriving, and digital is presenting so many cool opportunities. Like, we're still pitching to people that are influencers on TikTok. So, there's plenty of opportunities for publicists.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, this question here that's just popped through isn't particularly a career-related, PR question, but I think it's still really newsworthy in this current climate as well. Is that you're an inspiration, Odette? What do you think about Facebook looking to block news in Australia?
Oh, well, I mean, it's very PR. I think this is a really, really tricky conversation. I really do think that Facebook and Google should be paying news providers for the content that's being created. I really hope that both Facebook and Google can come to a really comfortable space with the industry that is respectful of everyone's work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, totally agree. Well, I think that's all we've got time for today, which is such a shame. But thank you again for all of that PR goodness and for unpacking the industry for us, and in particular in this current climate as well. And I'm sure that there's so many students out there that just got so much from your talk. If anyone wants to continue the conversation with you, I know that you mentioned before that students can reach out to you. Is that's
yeah, DM me. And if you're struggling, if you fucking hate school like I did, then please DM me. And there's light. There's so much light for you ahead.
Oh, so refreshing to hear someone say that.
Probably not meant to say that.
That's okay. We'll beep you out next time, Odette. No, thank you very much for your time again, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you for joining us at CareerCon.
Thanks for having me.